Um, I would like to just start off by sharing my screen and telling you about what we are going to do today. The topic, very simple, is the relevance of documentation in the management of children with cerebral palsy or special needs. When we started this journey 12 years ago, that is when we were preparing and thinking about setting up a platform. We had to consider a lot of options. Of course, at that time, my wife had been going around homes for years, more than 10 years, visiting homes, supporting them in one way or the other, and even special schools. Lalu, our son, had also attended a special school in Lagos for a number of years, apart from also going to England, where he also attended a special school for about 3 years. So we had knowledge, but we also understood that there was a deficiency in the field of disability management in Nigeria, and that is the fact that everybody was stuck in the mindset of at home, and then some people started considering school. But whatever number of those kind of homes and schools that we have, it will not address the large number of families who, for one reason or the other, it could be funding, it could be, the stigma that denies them the opportunity to bring the children out, are not able to benefit from this. I'll give you an example. From our studies, we found that there are over 80,000 people, and I mean children and adults in Lagos with cerebral palsy. If you go around the homes, if you go around the hospitals where people come for clinics, you'll have a tough time identifying maybe 2,000 children. So what's happening to the rest of the maybe 78,000 people? It is because they're stuck at home. As adults, most of them don't come out, and so on. So it is important that we begin to look at other things, and that's how our attention has shifted more from children itself to parents. And that's when we talk about managing the children. Who manages them? It is parents like you and me who do the real management. Yes, our doctors help, our therapists help, but no doctor is going to spend more than an hour at a time. No therapist is going to spend more than an hour at a child. And I'd like to say here that any therapist, particularly a physiotherapist who wants to handle your child for 2 hours at a stretch, has a limited understanding of the job, because beyond an hour, you're putting a lot of unnecessary stress on the child. So let me start first by asking, how are you? Because I hope that you're well. I hope that you're keeping well. I hope that you're getting adequate rest. And I hope that you are becoming more comfortable with the fact that your child has a unique need. Because until you do that, you will continue to labor, even when you are lying in bed, worrying, and that will not give you adequate rest. So, today, we're looking at documentation. I'd like to talk about history, first of all. I am someone who I did take history seriously as a young man, because when I was in secondary school, it's something that's voluminous. Those who know me will attest to the fact that I seem to like talking a lot, and I can speak for hours. But I'm not gifted at voluminous writing, if you want to put it that way. And that's why even to chat with you on social media, like on WhatsApp, can be a little bit tedious for me. So I would rather talk to parents than spend 30 minutes chatting, which is obviously some people enjoy doing because they type very fast. So and I am concerned about making errors, So I want to read through what I've typed, I want to correct it, and so on before I send, and somebody is back to you. So I left secondary school with like, history is not something that I really want to do. But as I started to get older, you know, this adage about you must know where you're coming from on the way to get to where you're going started to really manifest in my life. And I started to understand that, yes, indeed, history has a very special role. And it only works if we can recollect properly. You can, I'm sure most of you have had times when you're talking with a friend or somebody, and you recall something happening a certain way, and they are insisting that it happened in a different way. So as not to end up having a quarrel, sometimes just let it go. But when it comes to the state of your health, the state of health of your child, particularly one that is unable to voice out exactly how they feel, then the history of their last week, 2 weeks, 1 year, 1 month, or 2 years is what will help you and the healthcare personnel that is trying to attend to them, not to deal with them in the proper way. For instance, when you go from one doctor to another, you know that unless you let the doctor know that you have already on this and that medication, they will just add their own medication to it. And you may end up being, over-medicated, which should have its own medication. So that is it. Not just about life, not about your nation, not about so many things. The more we know about history, the better it will be for us. Yes, what are the options for recording history? Very simple methods is oral. In days gone, and even actually find that you go to the village, you have people who have a record of this king had handed over to this king, and some of them are talking about during the first moon, during the second market day, etc., etc., which are not quite precise. And when you go to Europe, they can give you history of even 2,000 years ago and specific dates and so on, which incidentally was on my problem with history in school. Because it's like, if something happened maybe 500 years ago, I'm wondering what's the difference between whether it happened in February or March 500 years ago. And those are the things that history teachers, they want so specific things and give you good marks for it. Okay. But over here, now we have also captured or brought into the idea of written records where we are, we're documenting our date of birth, and that's why you are able to put things right. And so the more you write, the better things for you. So in modern day, we even have interesting things. We have voice recorders, and you can speak into a recorder and play back data and so on and so forth. We have cameras where you can take pictures. It used to be pictures that would take a while to go to the printer and then come back to you. And now we have digital cameras. I remember when Polaroid came out, the Polaroid camera, I thought, wow, you could just shoot, it comes out, you spray, you peel the something, wait for a few minutes, peel it off, and you have a picture. But it was limited in size and it tended to deteriorate after a while. But now with a digital camera, which many of us have it on our phones, you can take as many pictures as you want. You can save them. Now you can even save, because initially you could only save them maybe on your laptop, but now you can even save them on cloud in the sense that there are all kinds of applications that are not even readily available to you. I mean, not immediately available, but you can go there and check and see, some of the things that you did a long time ago. The video recorder is more interesting because you can record motion. You can record naming ceremony. You can even record baby's first step, particularly if the father is not at home. You can send the picture to him. And I'll tell you, as a father, that the average father would be really, really excited to see that, oh, Junior now is walking, he can now say Baba and things like that, or Daddy, and so on. So that's the place of, Josh recorder cameras, video recorders. And the question is, what are we recording? Particularly for our children, we're recording events as they occur, how they occur. This requires real-time observations, including sometimes when the child is sleeping. Maybe the child is making some noises that could indicate obstructions in the nasal passage or something. You are not just taking a picture, you are recording in terms of a video and sound, which would help the doctor greatly. There are things that a child can be doing, or even yourself, and by the time you take them to the hospital, the symptoms or the signs are not showing. And after a little while, doctor will say, okay, maybe you bring it back another day. As you're just getting home, it starts again. So if you have that, it helps them. Milestones, we all, even as a first-time mother, there are women, older women, family members, even your mother, who are there to tell you, oh, by so-and-so, maybe 7 months, 1 year, the child should be walking, should be talking. These are expectations of a child that is progressing normally. And so right from the hospital, some parents, older people can come, see a child that should think, oh, there's nothing wrong with this child. And they see that the eyes are kind of yellowish. And that's when they say, oh, come, have this child been checked for jaundice? And so on. So when they don't walk when they should walk, when they don't speak when they should speak, when they don't do certain things when they should, we also need to be now very observant to know when it starts. There are also children who may start walking or crawling, and maybe by 3 years, they just lose that capacity and suddenly they can crawl again. Or, maybe they would say a few words before they're 2 years old. Stop. So it helps to be able to have those details properly written, because even when you are seeing a specialist, especially when you are able to go to abroad with a child at the age of 8, 9, 10, or whatever, you still need to be able to recollect these things precisely, because an expert who has seen a lot of children will be able to read further meanings into these delayed achievements of milestones or reversals in milestones and so on. There'll be unusual occurrences if you're a working mother or a mother who who has reasons to be away from home for reasonable lengths of time, and you have a carer, a nanny, or even an older child looking after this young child or this child with special needs. They could fall. They could injure themselves somehow. And we have all seen videos of nannies that can be unnecessarily, wicked to these children, beating them, hitting them, stepping on them, etc. That's why it calls for regular, examination of your child. Even sometimes being involved in giving them baths in the morning and so on. Because once you do that, you are changing their clothes at night before they go to bed, you will notice some marks, some things. It is important that at that time you take the picture. It's documentary evidence if you should have to go to the police. But apart from that, it's also evidence for the doctors who may say, look, maybe we need to have an x-ray and so on, and not just leave it as the case may be. Then one important one which my wife has been doing right from day one, is monitoring of body temperature. Now, it's not just about looking at the temperature or checking the temperature every once in a while. It's about being disciplined enough to take the temperature at regular intervals for a child that is, quote unquote, okay. And when the child begins to maybe show signs of a fever, then you probably have to increase the number of times that you take the temperature. But these readings are of no use unless you have a notebook where you are recording them painstakingly. That is on Monday, 3rd of maybe January, a.m., 9 a.m., 12 p.m., 12 noon, and so on. And you record it exactly as it occurs. Like I said, what are the other things that we're recording? Medications. When they are given medications by your doctor, you need to record when and what the medications are, how they take them, because there has to be other persons who have to look at the child, need to understand these things to avoid, like I said, over medication. There's urination. Some people may say, well, what's the big deal about urination? Well, what if they are not urinating regularly? Because which could also be an indication of a problem. And if they are urinating too often. Now, what is too often? If you have a record that they urinate, let's say, 6 times a day, first thing in the morning, and so on, then when they don't urinate as much or on that frequency, it calls for concern. And we need to check. It could even be as simple as the fact that when you as the mother is not there, the caregiver is not diligent in making sure that they have, regular intakes of fluid. So then you have stooling. Again, stooling, the first one is that, as it's passing out normally, it shows that the system is working normally. The child is also okay. You'll have times when the stool is watery. Is it a sign of, some complications in terms of maybe they're having running stomach or whatever? There are various things you're looking for. And the most important one is when they are not stooling regularly. If they're not stooling regularly, it's like something also is going on. Are they eating well enough? And if they are not stooling for 2 to 3 days, for instance, you will notice they start having problems with eating. And the problems will increase because they'll be uncomfortable, they're hungry, but they can't eat because the stomach is congested. And so there'll be cases where until you press the stomach before you realize that it has become hard. And that's when you need to now consider doing excavation of the child's stomach. That's when there are various things. Mothers know what to do. If you don't know, you go to a hospital and they will help you with the tools for the excavation. So that's where signs of constipation is also there that we record. The tools for record keeping, we've talked about them more or less initially, but it's essentially a notebook. Keep diligently. Now, as the notebook gets filled up, because you are not just recording, you are recording by date. You can imagine if you are recording your child's temperature every day, depending on the size of your notebook, within 30 and maximum 60 days, the notebook will be full. So the recommended thing is that you have a notebook and you now rule it into sections where you are having the date, and then coming down, you are having temperature, you are having stooling, you are having children who have seizures, things like that. That should be called. So every day there are a couple of things that are being recorded. Like my wife does diligently, it is recommended that before going to bed every night, that you check the notebook, especially if you have a caregiver, a nanny, or a nurse that is helping with the management of the child. Because you see, at the end of the day, you are the one who is going to pay medical bills. You are the one who's going to have sleepless nights. So don't get carried away by the fact that, oh, my nanny is good, she's caring, they love the child. These people will, they can be involved in a lot of eye service. So which means when you are around, there will be an attempt to do the right things. When you're not around and there's a TV or everybody has a phone now, they're on the phone chatting with their friends, they'll miss timings and so on. So you have the camera. Camera, even when you're not around, they can take pictures, especially when your little one is in a good mood, is laughing, is having, or even if he's not, if he's having tantrums, which they can send to you. Then you have, of course, you have the video recorder. These days, if you have a good phone, it is right there on your phone. You have sound recorder, you have camera, and the camera also can do video recording, which can be used. I mean, you can imagine if your child is just approaching walking stage, and then you're at work one day and the child starts walking. If your caregiver is able to shoot a few, if it's a 15-second video and send to you, it's going to make your day. And it's also something that you can share with your mother, you can share with anybody who genuinely cares about that child. CCTV camera. This is awesome. It's a new, it used to be a new invention, but it's really, really hands-on now because it's quite affordable. You can set it up in the room of the child, in the sitting room, all the areas where the child can be kept when you are not at home. And some of them can record incidences which you watch later. But these days, with the advanced technology, some of them can be connected to your phone. So whether you're at a wedding or at work, at a conference away from home, you can occasionally just glance into it and see what is happening at home. And I can assure you, knowing that your little one is sleeping or certain things is being fed at the right time, it's a great sense of relief. Now I talked about video camera, I talked about voice recorder and all. And what we need for this is what I'll call an internet-enabled phone. Many of us have phones. Some phones have a camera, but it is advisable that you invest in a phone that has a little more capability. I deal with a lot of mothers or parents who say, their phone cannot do WhatsApp. It's a major tool for managing your child. If you look at how much you spend on physio in a few months, you'll understand that for something that is permanently hands-on to you, it's a question of commitment that we begin to see that phone that is internet-enabled as a major tool for managing our child. Now, if we have all these things, we have all these stories, we have all these, we call it ability to document, we have all these records. Is it only for when we go to the hospital? The truth is that it goes way beyond that. Technology these days has helped us to reach a stage where we can reach people that we don't even know, who have maybe a similar child like us, or they're in similar situations like us, or there are some people who just have a good heart and who can become interested, can become friends, can follow our stories, and begin to be that person that from time to time will even reach out a helping hand to us. So I I know there's a lot of stigma out there about children with cerebral palsy or any child that is a little bit different from the normal child. But it is our responsibility as individual parents to get into the business of advocacy, to educate everybody in our space. You see, the more we educate them, the more they will accept our child and even ourselves. And the more we're changing the way everybody looks at special needs, disability, whatever you want to call it. So even for us as parents, the first thing that we need to do is to accept the fact that our child has this issue. Those of you who are following me on Instagram will notice that even this morning, I posted the video of a little child who I don't think is up to 2 years old. He has this cute wheelchair, cute little wheelchair. And the way he's moving around the house with his chair is just amazing. There are children who are up to 12 years old in Nigeria who cannot manipulate a wheelchair, who don't have that level of confidence that I saw in this young man. That's why I posted it. And so the earlier we come to the acceptance of a child's situation, the better for us. People are, sometimes we are discussing with parents, and you find somebody with a child who's up to 15, and they still focus on that child standing, on that child walking. They're investing so much resources in trying to get that child to walk. And the truth is that not every child has to work. Not every child will ever get to walk, no matter how much we try. But within that period, when we're concentrating on trying to get the child to walk, we could be losing time when the child could be educated or get education as to doing some other things. So we get acceptance. And the minute we get acceptance, which of course it comes from understanding this child's situation and our own situations as parents. Nigerians are very, very friendly. They're very kind. Everybody wants to help, but they want to help in getting you somebody who can get you either a miracle cure or, pray somewhere where you go for prayers and so on. It is up to you to, first of all, get understanding and educate those people as to you appreciate what they're doing. But this is the case. This is what I need now. Hopefully, you'll be able to turn them around to walking with you on this journey of disability. Without acceptance, without overcoming the stigma attached to these things, you can't come out. This is where a lot of our old parents with older children are. You see, if you have denied your child for 10, 15, 20 years, no matter what we say, Benola, it's difficult for you to suddenly come out. I know some parents who have been following Benola. It's taken some of them close to 7, 8 years to put the picture of their child on Facebook or something. They're on Facebook. They're showing pictures of them going to parties, celebrating their birthday. Other children are celebrating their birthday. But this special child just doesn't show up. I was really, really overwhelmed last month when one of such ladies actually had a birthday party for her 11-year-old special child. Everybody was there. The picture was... she gladly put all the pictures on Facebook and so on. So once we have reached that stage when we are able to share our stories, then we have to begin to share them on platforms. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, blogs, WhatsApp, whatever platform we can. You need to understand how we about sharing the story. What are we sharing? We're sharing, I like to say, for me and my family, we share positive pictures of our son. It's not as if he doesn't cry sometimes, it's as if he doesn't have some bad days. But how is that going to encourage anybody? Except, of course, I'm looking for pity. Then I'll show pictures of, I've had a rough day, I've not slept all night because of my son. Okay? But if I can show you that we're having a good day, that he's happy, that we had some visitors, that he's blowing kisses, and so on and so forth, which he does most of the time, then I believe that encourages other people. If I have new equipment, I want to explain the new equipment. If I learn a little bit more about cerebral palsy, I talk about how it's changing my life. I've had wonderful testimonies from some parents on some of our platforms as to how their lives have changed. And some of them are beginning to even write every day. Do you know what happens if you write, even if it's 2-3 times a week, a short story about your day, your week, whatever, it's your special one? In 6 months, you certainly have material that can be put into a book, or maybe you want to keep it for a year or something. All you need, again, is to find somebody to help you turn it into a book and maybe add a few of these beautiful pictures that you have been capturing. You see, if you've never taken pictures of your child, if you want to tell a story about his journey to where he is now, whether it's 5 years or 10 years, you don't have any picture before he was maybe 4 or 5 years old, a certain part of his life is missing. Okay, so we need to understand. There were people who maybe 10 years ago felt that you are violating the right of that child by putting the child's picture on social media. In fact, when we launched Benola in 2013, the truth is that we couldn't find the picture of a Nigerian child with cerebral palsy. It took a lot of effort, maybe 3 years, before parents started sharing pictures with us. Today, we still have people who, when we insist on them sharing pictures, will say, okay, we'll share the picture, but please don't make it public. Yeah, we honor them, but we also try to explain to them that for God to send people into your life to help you one way or the other, those in your space, your colleagues at work, those in your place of worship, your former school classmates in secondary school, university, and so on, or even whatever society you belong with, need to know what you're going through in your private life. That's when help will come. So please, let's begin to think about the kind of stories we're telling and begin to see how it goes. I know some young kids. In fact, there's one boy who's, I think, barely 18 months old. He's a Chinese boy. He has his own Instagram page, which obviously is being run by his mother. And he has more than 2,000 pictures. And that's how the thing is going now. People are proud of their situation and so on. And even when you get those comments on the page, I assure you, it will make your day very special. Okay. Really, there's not much to say about this story. It's one for listening, for understanding, for buying into, and I pray that the Lord Almighty will help you to begin to adjust the way you look at, this idea of documenting, telling your story, sharing your story with people. If you're not proud of yourself, hey, who's going to help you out? If you look at most of our comedians, with all due respect, you have the fat lady who calls herself Naquatious Bosse, you have the not so fine looking guy who calls himself Fine Boy, and so many other people I can tell you about. And what do? They come on stage, they make fun of themselves. And thereafter, everybody laughs, not at them, but with them. People will laugh at you. People will celebrate you. People will begin to appreciate you if you show them that you're proud and you appreciate yourself. So wake up every morning. Thank God for your life. Thank you for your special child. Look at them to see what's positive about them and what message are they sending to you. In conclusion, cerebral palsy, like every other disability, is real and has many faces, some of which could easily be confused with other clinical conditions. Documentation, which in reality is a form of keeping history or keeping record of history, is a formidable and simple way that empowers us when needed or when necessary with powerful information to assist healthcare workers, therapists, or even family and friends in better managing our son. Proper documentation helps with early detection. It helps with early observation and possible positive management of our special children. You see, for instance, when you record a seizure, you are recording how long did it last, what time of the day did it last, when did it happen? Could it have been when he was eating? Could it have been when he just woke up from sleep? Could it have been when he was unnecessarily, when he was very excited? These are the things. I'll give you an example. Before we took Laulu to India in 2010, I used to like it when, you see, he's a very excitable person. And especially when, because he stays upstairs, he doesn't get much visitors, he doesn't see except the family and his, caregivers. But once in a while, we have visitors, they come upstairs to see him. And when a new person comes in, he gets really excited and he's laughing, And I used to enjoy it until we got to India and the doctors told us that, this is not good. That, yes, it's not bad that he's excited, but he shouldn't be excited for too long because that's what triggers some of his seizures. And so these days, when he gets into that kind of mood, you find me or anybody and say, hey, it's okay, say, calm down. And he does calm down. And so on. So knowledge, they say, is power. Ability to do these things. Even in terms of some therapies like physio and all, when you show interest in what people are doing, when you video it and you look at it later on, you begin to see the options of how you can do some things. I have had a session in the past when I told parents that I'm highly disturbed by a lot of videos of children that are doing cerebral palsy and that are doing physiotherapy that I see, because the children are crying. The children are showing obvious signs of displeasure, and the therapist continues. He's just doing his job. But being a physiotherapist does not qualify you to do physio on a child. You have to have done additional training in pediatric medicine and pediatric physiotherapy to understand that their muscles and bones are very, very fragile. Particularly if they've gone stiff, you cannot straighten it by exerting force. Some of them would actually require surgery to release those tendons. So trying to force those hands to go straight or the legs to go straight, as I've seen some videos, will eventually lead to damage, further damage to the child. So let's get this thing right. So you see, there's a mindset, like I said, about children and being in homes, being in special schools, and being managed in a particular way, or even us parents thinking that the only role we can play in disability management is to have a home or a school. And so for things to get better, we must change that mindset. And we all have a role in getting there. Our children, even with cerebral palsy or any other disability, are here for a purpose. Our job as parents, or even siblings, anybody who is interested, is to help find that purpose and thereafter nurture and celebrate them. That's why I said it's not about the child sitting. It's not about the child walking. It's about the child being able to do some intelligent activity from whatever position they are in life. Proper documentation is one of the best ways to do that. Thank you very much. And I'll take some questions, which I believe